Hey friends, today I'm gardening with Creekside. I am going to do a science experiment by planting this beautiful pink diamonds dicentra, a bleeding heart, in 3 very different growing conditions back here behind me. So you know that we have a fantastic relationship with the folks at Proven Winners and Walter's Gardens. Walter's Gardens is the home to the Proven Winner perennials. And late summer, early fall, they sent me a beautiful shipment of plants to test here in our gardens. Well, this pink diamonds I did not get around to planting last year, so it has overwintered at the garden shed, and you can see that it has got beautiful new foliage on it already here the beginning of March. So we are going to get these babies into the ground. I have 3 of them, and we're going to get them into the ground. Now, everything that I know about a bleeding heart tells me that it is a shade plant, it is a woodland garden plant, it loves lots of moisture, it hates the heat, all of those things that we know about bleeding hearts. Well, pink diamonds, according to Proven Winners and my friends at Walter's Gardens, really kind of goes against those traditional stereotypes about a dicentra. And that is because this is a fern-leaved dicentra, and it is an alpine type bleeding heart, which that means that it can take more sun. So according to the tag here on Proven Winners, I know Jerry's behind the camera kind of looking at me funny. I'm saying the same thing. This is why we're doing a science experiment, people. It says full sun to part sun. It says that it likes more sun because in the alpine region it gets lots of good sun. However, we're in North Carolina and we have heat and humidity that probably the Alps don't have. But it is, as far as your growing zones, it is hardy for zones 3 to 9. That's why I had no problem growing it, just overwintering it, because as a 7B, this zone 3 can handle our winters like no problem. It gives me hope because it is heat tolerant up to a 9. This will be 16 inches, 12 to 16 inches tall and about 16 to 18 inches wide. What's really fun though about this pink diamonds, other than the fact that it could possibly take more sun than what I'm used to, is that it has lots of beautiful blooms that will start. There's actually some buds on here, so we're gonna say for the south, early spring through early summer, and then it can continue to bloom throughout the season. I am going to put this in 3 different locations because I have 3 different plants. One, I am going to put it at the base of our forest pansy redbud tree. This will get at least probably, 5 hours of morning sun at the base of this tree, and then it will be in the shade. So that's spot number 1. Spot number 2, I'm going to go with what I always think of as a bleeding heart. I'm going to put it behind the forest pansy where my heaven scent are loving life. So I'm going to put it back there, so much kind of deeper shade. And then the 3rd place that I'm going to put it is going to be in the full sun, and it's going to be right next to a little quickfire hydrangea, which is a panicle hydrangea, full sun and in a container. It will not be in my thick North Carolina red clay soil, because that is another thing that Proven Winners Walter's Gardens says, is that this does not like heavy clay soil, and it doesn't need all of the constant moisture that other bleeding hearts do. So I'm going to give these plants a run for their money. I'm going to see which area it performs best in this season. This will be a season-long experiment because I'm not going to know probably till we get really into the throes of summer which area is performing best. So without further ado, we are going to get 2 of these in the ground, and then I'm going to get 1 in a pot. I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to do it. Okay, so my first one is going to go here in front of the forest pansy. I have got Lenten roses right here. I have got some euchre, some brunnera, some carex grasses. Again, about probably 5 hours of morning sun, and then it will be in afternoon shade. So we're going to say a little prayer that there is not a hidden perennial right here. Most of the perennials are popping up, and then I dug for some hosta and I didn't see anything. So we're going to say a little prayer using my power. No, didn't find a perennial, but I did find the landscape lighting wire. So we're just going to ever so slightly just move that one out of the way. Whew, avoided that one, didn't we? Whew. All right, so you'll notice that I'm using my 1 gallon drill bit today, since this is tight quarters with other perennials in here, and these are 1 gallon plants. There's no need for me to come in here with my 3 gallon. So this is a good size for it. I have got my kneeling pad. Don't think I'm gonna need that one right now. And then I've got my Biotone porch starter fertilizer, which is what we use with all of our perennials and shrubs. Gonna throw some of that in the hole. The purpose of the Biotone is the great root growth, because we want really, really nice root growth. We have got a beautiful plant right here, and we are gonna go ahead and turn the pot up. Put your hand in, right? So you've got your hand kind of like a claw. You've got it right here, pot upside down, wiggle it, squeeze it, and there we go. Now, I'm not gonna come in here like crazy and break up my root ball. It's nice and happy and healthy. Use my thumb, just, you know, zhuzh it a little bit. I've actually got worms in here, which is a good thing. And then in the ground she goes. Bring back my native soil. Rebury that lighting wire. Make sure I'm not covering up any other perennials down in there. Now, we do have irrigation in this flower bed. It is not turned on, nor has it been turned on, because we get so much rain here in North Carolina that this soil is nice and moist. And that's going to be part of the experiment to see how this pink diamond does in our clay soil. So plant number 1 is in the ground, and then we're going to come back here in the back and we're going to put it in a lot more deep shade. All right. Test site number 2, definitely going to be a lot more shade. So what we are, I am on the back side of the forest pansy, and I am next to the house. Here at my feet, you can see that I have some autumn ferns. I have a nice collection of autumn ferns back here. I have the heaven sent, which is right here at my feet, which loves this spot and is doing really well. All of this is brand new foliage this year that has come up. So excited about that. And the pink diamonds is going to go right here at my feet. There is an irrigation line that runs through here, so we will take note of that and not hit it. I do see where my landscape lighting wire is coming through, so hopefully we're going to avoid all of that. Again, we are experimenting and seeing which is the best site for this, because I have my doubts. I am sure that Proven Winners and Walter's Gardens will happily prove me wrong on this. I just have a hard time believing that a bleeding heart can go in full sun in North Carolina. So we're gonna put it here and yeah, do the same thing. I'm gonna get my hole dug, Biotone, plop it in the ground. I mean, it's really simple this time of year to get these babies in the ground. It's really simple unless you don't tighten up your auger very well. I will say it is easy, but because of the tree being right here, I ran into some roots. So, and I don't have the muscles that Jerry has. So he's standing right here. So I'm gonna pass it off to him while I'm planting. He can tighten this up for me. And then, you know, when I'm ready to take it off, I'll be like, Jerry, why'd you put this thing on so tight? Bless his heart. All right, so here we go, trying to avoid all the plants. I do not need to drill again. Yes, so there is the culprit of the root is right here. So there you go. Now, if you have, as a freebie for you here, Brenna, out. As a freebie for you, if you have autumn ferns in your garden, you will know, maybe you don't, so maybe you need to add them to your garden, is one reason that we love autumn ferns so much is, one, they're super easy and they're beautiful, but they are evergreen. So even in the dead of winter, you still have the structure. Now, are they in all their glory? No, they're not, but they are beautiful plants. And as the new growth emerges, then you will come in and cut off all the old growth. So that's just a little tip. So if you're wondering why they look the way they do, it's because they just went through winter time. And I'm going to wait just a little bit longer before I trim any foliage off, because that old foliage does help protect new growth for when we get that inevitable late freeze or frost. So, and I think it's going to be really fun to have the pink diamonds behind the Heaven Sent. They're roughly going to be about the same height, but nice different texture to them. And then of course the different color blooms, because Heaven Sent has gorgeous, almost like a true blue flower. And then the pink diamonds, it is pink. And then as they open up, they'll have some white in them. So you're gonna have like a bicolor on that plant. So, I mean, really simple. We've got our little threesome right here in that little triangle. And we're just gonna let her grow and see how she does in this full shade spot. The third area we are going to test out directly behind me, you wouldn't think it'd be that much difference in sun. There's maybe 10 feet, if that, between where I am and where it's going to be in full sun. But it's all about because of the tree location and the house location. So we're going to put the third and final pink diamonds in a container with full sun, and I'm going to go ahead and hook irrigation up to this container while we're at it. All right, my friends, so the third and final resting place for this pink diamonds is going to be in this really fun, sweet, simple, unique stern. This is the Rustica urn, and it is in dark walnut. Matches my Western urns back here that are in dark walnut. Now, when you plant perennials in a container, you absolutely can do that. I think a lot of people sometimes just get too afraid to put perennials in a container. I always say get more room, like your container needs to be bigger than what your current perennial container is in. This is nice. It is obviously like a tapered urn, so it's wider at the top and it narrows down at the bottom. This bleeding heart is not going to be massive. It's not like a shrub that I'm putting into a container. It could live in this container for years and years. So I am going to plant it accordingly. I do have an irrigation tube here that I am going to connect. We have the drip irrigation is literally at the base of this container right here. So I have got my punch. So this will punch the hole into the brown tubing. On the end, I have an emitter here, and this emitter does half gallon per hour. So this will give it some nice good moisture, but it's not going to saturate it. So I punch my hole, then the emitter punches into the brown tubing, and then this on the end is simply a weight. So that way it helps hold it down. Obviously I've got lots of room here, and if I need to make it shorter, I can do that. Because it has the emitter, I'm going to go through the pot first and then down through it. That's the great thing about Unique Stone. All of their planters do have holes in the bottom. I always have to remember which direction the hole gets punched. So you just come in here and punch my hole. I've got a nice sweet little hole right there, and I'm going to come and it just snaps in just like that. And then I can pull out any slack and then get everybody situated. Plenty of room. There we go. So there's not being pinched. Now, I know that there's some white tubing showing. All I have to do is just get my mulch and cover it up. This way it is not pinched. I've got more than enough room, so that's great. So until I get all my soil in, I'm just going to throw that over to the side. A trick when you're doing containers, I read this in, I believe it was a Fine Gardening magazine several years ago. It is a game changer for when you were making your pots. So any kind of container, whether you're doing something for a perennial, a shrub, or an annual, get a really good high quality compost like your Land and Sea, and you're going to want to fill up about the bottom third of your container with your compost. That way, one, it helps retain the moisture. Two, when the roots hit that, it is a whole nother level of nutrition for the plant and makes a huge, huge difference. Then I'm gonna come back with my Proven Winners potting soil. This is the only potting soil I use. It is the best for our garden. I love this. I have tried others, and I just don't like it as much as I do the Proven Winners. It drains well, but it also holds the moisture really well too. So Proven Winners, here we go, and we're going to put that in, not quite all the way full because I've got a nice gallon-sized pot that needs to go in there. Kind of compress it as we can. Plant out. I'm going to take the tag and bury my tag in there in case I ever forget, which could happen, or if somebody else comes along and wants to know. Get my little well in there, turn this up. Now, when you're planting in a container, you really want the soil, and we can kind of take this off just a little bit, to be about even or just a little bit below the rim. You don't want it sticking up because this is a container and using potting soil, and it will drain really well. And then we're going to come back and we're going to fill in the edges with our potting soil, and then I'm finally going to use and top dress with my compost, because that too will help retain moisture, add some nutrients from the top. And there we go. Now, I am not even pretending that this container is level. I will do that because I do know that my people want to make sure that everything is perfectly level. And you will tell me if it's not. So we're going to come in here like such, top dress like such, and I'm not covering up the root ball. Like, I'm not doing that, pushing that down. And as the potting soil, the rain comes, it'll settle a little bit, and if I need to come back later with more compost, I can, and get it that way. Now what we're going to do is see how good my clippers are here. Here's my drip tube. Obviously it's too long. We're going to come in, cut it, and then the weights, if you have a weight, they just pull off and then they just pop back on. We use these for hanging baskets, but it works for containers as well. So squeeze everybody on, and I'm actually gonna dig a little hole. I probably could have done this first. It's all right. Push that in there. It's not pinched, it's just laying down. So there we go. We have got 3 different pink diamonds in 3 different locations, 3 different growing areas, and we're really just going to kind of see how they do. I will keep you posted as we go through the whole growing season. I probably will not be able to say for one way or another until this fall which one performed the best, but we have got full sun in a well-draining container. I have got one in part sun in clay soil, and then I have one in pretty much full shade in clay soil as well. That's the great thing about the folks at Walters and Proven Winners sending us these plants, so we can really test them out, because I need to know how they're going to perform in my North Carolina garden here in the Southeast United States with all of our heat and humidity. So that way, when I sell it to my customers or when I talk about it with you, I can say, this is how it did in my garden. And hopefully you can learn from some of my messes and successes so that you will only have success in your garden. If you happen to find a pink diamonds in the garden center, go ahead and grab it. It is an absolutely stunning plant, and it is not even blooming yet. Beautiful kind of a blue-green foliage, very fern-like. You will love it. So as always, thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have a fantastic day, and we will see y'all in the next video. Bye, friends.